think I've discovered at least a few alternate universes, and I don't know, I feel like I should tell you about them. There's this old concept that I think comes from the ancient Celtic people. It's called thin places. Have you heard of this before? I hadn't until I bumped into it somewhere deep in the recesses of the internet. I came across all these articles and websites about thin places. Thin places, apparently, are places where the veil between this world and the eternal world is thin, according to folks on the internet, anyway. These are places where heaven and earth are so close, they're almost touching. And it's almost unlikely that we wouldn't have a holy feeling in these places. And I guess this is kind of what I meant when I said that I think I've discovered at least a few alternate universes. When I say that, the universes I'm talking about are places where the rules of human interactions are morphed. Places where sacred connection is imminent, where God is waiting patiently, eager to help us feel God's presence in the company of others, where we see each other differently. These little mini slices of social heaven on earth. I will now tell you about a few of these alternate universes, these thin places of altered social dynamics. I think there are more, by the way, but these I'm certain of. People who know me know that I spent a large part of my career working with college students. My favorite time to visit a campus is in the first few weeks of the fall semester. Those sacred early days of the school year are throbbing with energy and divinity, if you ask me. The rules of human engagement are being rewritten right in front of you. You can talk to anyone. You can proclaim a faith. You can smile at a passerby. You can smoke cigarettes if you want to. You can say a prayer with someone you just met from an entirely different faith background. You can have a stranger design a tattoo for you. All of it is okay. All of it is coated in a holy sheen of light. I love those first few weeks on a college campus. Okay, here's another alternate universe I've discovered: airport bars. I have traveled solo for work a lot. And while this may not be the healthiest habit of Holy Communion, I love having a beer at an airport bar. And I'd never wish for delays, but when weather is making everyone delayed, the thinness of the airport bar becomes even more obvious. Everyone is between places. Nobody is anywhere. Everyone is just here, now. Strangers and best friends all at once. Time moves differently, and there's like this shared understanding amongst everyone. So as I thought about these alternate universes, I remembered the early months of the COVID pandemic back in 2020. Do you remember that strange mix of fear and love that so many of us felt? We were all like painfully aware of the mortality and closing world all around us. We didn't know how to talk to each other, but we wouldn't give in to it. We fought for our collective humanity. We invented new ways to interact. We did stuff like drive-by birthday parties. We sang out of our balconies. We tried really lame Zoom happy hours. How beautiful was it that when a crisis overtook the world, we kept showing up in new and beautiful ways for each other. So I posted about these few alternate universes that I had discovered on social media a while ago, and I got some really amazing responses. A ton of people shared the alternate universes they knew about. I'll offer a few of their responses, the alternate universes that people told me about when they saw the ones that I had named. So this person named River Birch, and I don't know if that's a real name or like an invented internet name, but I love the name River Birch. They wrote this: bluegrass festivals and acoustic music jams. There is an unwritten protocol for how to jam. It's pretty much universal. Many of the same songs are sung, and you can talk with strangers easily because you already have something in common. When you return the next year, you pick up where you left off. There are strong bonds formed without any of the problems and frustrations of day-to-day relationships, and there is something magical about playing music together. Yeah, River Birch. bluegrass festivals, acoustic music jams. I love it. Another person with the internet handle at Romani Soup wrote this. Backpacking hostels in any country frequented by shoestring travelers. Instant, transient friendships are made on the spot. Amazing shared adventures are had, stories are told, advice given, and then we never see each other again. It's still the 1970s hippie vibe in backpacker hostels all over the world. Yeah. I've never stayed in a hostel personally, but man, I can imagine. I've traveled the world enough to know that there is something magnetic that brings travelers together, something powerful and divine about sharing the experience of having your world expanding. Another person on the internet named Jeff B., who lives in Florida, wrote me this note about an alternate universe they have experienced before. This was a cool one. The neighborhood playground in the 12 hours before a hurricane hits. You've done everything you can to get ready. The weather is gorgeous, and everybody knows they're about to go through some stuff, and no one has bumpkiss for agency. Yeah, I've never experienced a hurricane personally, but I can imagine the anticipation and the latent fear that is just sort of floating around that playground. Wow. Then I got this comment from someone named Bruce Paris. Bruce wrote about an alternate universe he experienced personally. He said this. A cancer treatment waiting room, as well as the rooms where you get chemotherapy. Cancer does not discriminate. You meet people from all walks of life, from prisoners to athletes to retired architects to teenagers, you name it. You spend hours every week waiting, and everyone has a story to tell. And most have an encouraging word. No labels, no arguments, just people trying to find the strength to fight another day. I later learned through a couple comment exchanges with Bruce that Bruce has been in remission from throat cancer for 5 years. Another person, this person is from Atlanta, and their name is Margaret Mason Tate. Margaret described an alternate universe she knows of by only typing 4 letters. She wrote NICU, NICU. The neonatal intensive care unit. I mean, I can only imagine how raw and real the humanity and divinity is in the NICU. Parents and grandparents and loved ones, doctors and nurses, man, everyone's heart beating together to save the lives of newborn children. And then I got this one from Rebecca Gleaves Sanderlin, who is a writer. And she wrote about 2 similar alternate universes that she's experienced. First, she wrote about the experience of, here's where her quote starts, drop off for a military deployment right after the soldiers leave. Everyone is crying in public. We're all in it together, and we have absolutely no idea how we're going to get through this. Then she added a line about pickup for a military deployment right as the soldiers get off the bus. Everyone's excitement, anxiety, and gratitude are through the roof. You're hugging strangers, and you don't have to explain why. You probably remember that opening montage from the movie Love Actually. You know that movie? Probably watched it around the holidays. The scene is in the arrivals area at London's Heathrow Airport. People are reuniting with their loved ones. There's hugs. People are jumping into each other's arms. The narrator, who is Hugh Grant, I think, says these words during all of that. I found the script, so I'm going to read that opening narration as people are reuniting at Heathrow in the arrivals area. Whenever I get gloomy with the state of the world, I think about the arrivals gate at Heathrow Airport. General opinion's starting to make out that we live in a world of hatred and greed. But I don't see that. It seems to me that love is everywhere. Often it's not particularly dignified or newsworthy, but it's always there. Fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, old friends. When the planes hit the Twin Towers, as far as I know, none of the phone calls from the people on board were messages of hate or revenge. They were all messages of love. If you look for it, I've got a sneaky feeling you'll find that love actually is all around. Maybe these aren't alternate universes. Maybe these are all part of our earthly experience, and maybe we have the capacity to create more of them whenever we want. I hope you, the people listening to this, the betweeners out there, I hope you can serve as the creators of thin places. I hope you can be the gateways to alternate universes for more people in your lives. It's been another little bonus episode of the Between Podcast, the little episodes between our main episodes, our longer episodes. It's just a little short, palate cleanser, if you will. I hope you enjoyed it. And, I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I am. When we set this podcast up, it was all about maybe we can have sacred conversations about sacred conversations. And the people that I've gotten to interact with doing this podcast just blow my mind. I am so grateful for not just the conversations, but the relationships that I've built and deepened through the opportunity to do this, through the conversations that I've had. Anyway, I couldn't do it without you. I am so glad you're listening. You, specifically you. I'm talking to you. I'm so glad you press play. I'm so glad, you're a part of our Between community, whether you just listen to the podcasts or you do all the other stuff that Between does. What a wonderful group of human beings all over the world engaging together around this idea of, the intersection of faith and human connection, around the idea of creating more moments of sacred human connection in the world because our world needs it. I am so grateful for you. Hey, this has been a little bonus episode of the Between Podcast. Thanks for listening. This podcast itself has allowed me to have sacred conversations with people that I just so deeply admire and that I learn from so much. I feel like creating the podcast has created an alternate universe for me, a place where I get to dive deep into such meaningful, sacred, holy topics with people, difficult topics, real topics, and dive into their wisdom, dive into their lived experience. And I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful for you. Thanks for listening to this episode, but man, thanks for listening to so many of our episodes that we've been able to create so far and so many that we've got coming up. Man, I'm so glad you are here. Hey, thanks to all you betweeners out there for listening to this episode of the Between Podcast. Make sure you visit between.church on the internet to sign up for our mailing list. That's probably the most important thing, our email list. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. You can check out our 5-minute sermons, 5-ish minute sermons that we post every week. Follow us on social media. We got daily prayers. We got all sorts of other content. And join our community fully. We invite everyone. You are welcome here, no matter who you are or where you're from, no matter what you believe or even if you believe, no matter who you love or how you love, no matter what anybody else has ever told you about you. You are welcome and loved and celebrated here at Between. My favorite church is the space between people. Now go with God's love and create the church between.